All right, welcome to this explainer, designed specifically for all you UPSC mains aspirants out there. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the living values of our Constitution. And I'm genuinely thrilled to guide you through this material because, listen, we're going to look at these foundational concepts not just as dry theory, but as the exact practical toolkit you need to write exceptional, high-scoring exam answers. Now, you might be wondering, how exactly do 70-year-old constitutional ideals actually solve the complex, messy governance challenges we face today? It's a fantastic question. We really have to start by framing the preamble not as some dusty historical relic sitting in a museum, but as an active, modern tool. It's literally the living heartbeat of our democracy. If you can confidently connect the philosophy of the 1940s to the governance challenges of the 2020s in your essays, you are absolutely going to stand out to any examiner. Think of this agenda as your ultimate structural framework for the mains exam. We'll quickly cover the living preamble, then we'll look at core values today, dive into the secularism spectrum, compare Indian versus French models, extract some real lessons for France, and finally wrap it all up with a solid conclusion. Let's get right to it. Section 1. The Living Preamble, Evolution and Vision. Okay, look at how the preamble actually evolved. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. It transitioned from a pure statement of intent into the absolute core structure of the Indian Union. Notice the crucial distinction here. Both the Objective Resolution of 1947 and the preamble adopted in 1949 share this deep commitment to equality, liberty, justice, and minority rights. But while the Objective Resolution was basically just a statement of intent, the preamble became an enforceable part of the Constitution. And here's the kicker. It derives its sovereign power directly from we the people. It implicitly assumes the structure of the Indian Union and explicitly uses terms like socialist and secular. This distinction is absolutely vital for grounding your historical arguments. Moving right along to Section 2, Core Values Today, Modern Governance. So when you're writing your mains answer, you absolutely have to bridge the theoretical with the practical. You can't just throw definitions at the examiner. You have to show these concepts in action. Let's take this socialist ideal. In a modern context, we're not just talking about state-owned factories anymore, right? We're talking about equitable wealth distribution and social safety nets like the PM-KISAN scheme, which provides direct income support right to the pockets of small and marginal farmers. Next, look at political justice. The recent 106 constitutional amendment, the one providing 33% reservation for women in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies, is a perfect, tangible example of equal access to power structures. And finally, equality. Today, equality of opportunity literally means bridging the digital divide, which is exactly what initiatives like PM-Wani and Smart Gram Panchayats are doing out in places like rural Bihar. Connecting these modern dots to the original ideals is exactly what gets you top marks. All right, Section 3, the Secularism Spectrum, Global Philosophies. Now, this is where you need to use the exact vocabulary the exam demands. You've got to use the term Sarva Dharma Samabhava to describe India's unique model. Simply put, this translates to equal respect for all religions. The Indian state, well, it doesn't have an official religion, sure, but it isn't completely detached from religion either. It's a remarkably positive, accommodative form of secularism where the state can actively step in and engage with religious institutions to drive social reform and protect fundamental rights. Now, let's contrast that directly with the French concept. It's called Laïcité, and wow, is this different. Laïcité enforces an absolute, strictly impenetrable wall between religion and state institutions. It's a very assertive form of secularism that actively pushes religion completely out of the public sphere and shoves it into the purely private domain. So under Laïcité, you literally cannot display conspicuous religious symbols in state institutions like public schools, meaning a total, legally enforced ban on wearing things like large Christian crosses, Jewish kippahs, or Islamic hijabs in those spaces. Now, this comparative table right here, this is pure gold for your answers. Think of it as a mental cheat sheet. Notice the state funding row right in the middle. In India, the state can actually fund religious institutions or minority schools. In France and the USA, however, direct state funding is strictly prohibited. No way. Or look at personal laws. India allows separate personal laws for different communities, whereas France enforces a strict uniform civil code. And the US? Well, they have no separate personal laws based on religion at all. Taking a mental snapshot of this table will save you immense time and stress during the actual exam. So the real game changer for your conceptual understanding is grasping the core difference between India's positive secularism and the West's negative secularism. India's model is incredibly inclusive and reformist. It looks at our massive, multi-religious society and seeks to protect all religions equally while still having the courage to step in and fix regressive practices. The Western model, particularly what you see in the US, is termed negative because it simply restricts the state from intervening in religion whatsoever. It's exclusionary and highly individual-centric. Let's jump into Section 4, Indian vs. French Secularism, Clash of Philosophies. So, while France is busy banning religious symbols to maintain this strict absolute neutrality, which frankly leaves zero room for state-supported religious reforms, the Indian state genuinely accommodates pluralism. A perfect real-world example? Allowing Sikh soldiers to wear their turbans in the Indian army, actively exempting them from standard helmet laws. At the exact same time, Indian secularism gives the state the power to actively intervene to abolish regressive practices. Think of the Supreme Court striking down triple talaq in the Shayara Bano case to uphold gender justice. France's rigid model simply doesn't allow for that kind of nuanced, helpful intervention. Which brings us to Section 5, Lessons for France, Learning from India. If you get a question on this, here are your exact exam arguments. First off, France could really benefit from maintaining an equal state distance rather than just a blanket ban, allowing them to ensure justice without alienating entire communities. Second, actively recognizing religious pluralism and allowing public space inclusivity, like, say, permitting certain religious attire, can actually foster much better social integration rather than marginalization. Finally, adopting a dynamic judicial interpretation, where the state purposefully intervenes for social justice, much like India did way back with the Hindu Code bills, could really help France modernize community practices collaboratively rather than through forceful exclusion. Finally, Section 6, Conclusion, Tying it all together. This right here, this is your mic drop ending for the examiner. Without fraternity, equality and justice remain hollow. As highlighted by the former Chief Justice, all these complex constitutional mechanics we've talked about, the fundamental rights, the secular frameworks, the direct benefit transfers, they literally all fail if the underlying spirit of common brotherhood, of true fraternity, is lost. It is the absolute glue that holds our incredibly diverse, multi-religious nation together.
So I want you to think deeply about this, because the preamble isn't just a text you cram to clear an exam. It's the literal blueprint you're going to use to govern. When you are finally sitting in that district magistrate's chair, dealing with tense communal situations or implementing crucial welfare schemes, how will you actively apply positive secularism? How will you ensure real social and economic justice on the ground? Keep that administrative, problem-solving mindset front and center as you study. Good luck with your preparation, keep these frameworks locked in your mind, and I will see you in the next explainer.